Everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is entertainment for purposes only. For those of you who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law through this channel. I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the million challenge. So for anybody who's not aware of this, this is a journey with investment of $1,000 for a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategy called compound return investing. So the objective is try to get 201 trades, each to an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In today's video, we're going to be looking at MMTLP, and after the recent Kennedy tweet, we're also going to be sharing with you huge new exposure for MMTLP, which is extremely positive, and also doing a stock update for ticker symbol RKLB, Rocket Lab, and I'm also going to be sharing with you details of some of my recent investments. So stay tuned for that. Before we get started, let's have a look at what's happening in the market. So first headline here from Bloomberg, US stocks bonds are losing traction in the run-up to Powell's speech. So there has been details of Powell's speech. We're going to share that shortly. But from Market Watch, we can see here China stocks are seeing massive surges in the past 5 days. So if we have a look at the China 300 index, we can see here it's the best day they've had in 16 years. So extremely good news for stocks like NIO and Baba. So coming in with regard to news from Jerome Powell, we can see here from Stock Market News, Jerome Powell has stated that the recent 50 BPS interest rate cut should not be interpreted as a sign that future moves will be as aggressive. So in terms of the economy, he also stated the economy is in solid shape and they intend to use tools to keep it there. Labour conditions are solid and the labour market is roughly in balance. So if we look at the Fear and Greed Index, we have a significant amount of greed right now, close to extreme greed, and I am predicting another interest rate cut, which would also go a long way to stimulating the markets. Before we look at details of the actual news story, shout out here to the Gateway Pundit, who posted and also shared the news story on their website, thegatewaypundit.com. So on their Twitter handle or the X handle, they currently have in excess of 807,000 followers. But let's have a look at the website and details about the Gateway Pundit. So first of all, we know about the website, but in terms of the audience, they grew rapidly, and they have in terms of the company, they've added additional writers to their staff. So right now they're looking at approximately 2.5 million unique readers every day, so that's quite a significant and wide coverage. And the Gateway Pundit is also ranked as one of the top 100 websites in America based on the SEMrush ranking. So I think in terms of the significant profiles and accomplishments from the website, we can see, I think the first one is very important for the MMTLP community, and that is they also joined Robert Kennedy Jr.'s case against Trusted News Initiative for censorship of free speech in 2023. And we also know that Robert Kennedy Jr. posted and retweeted about MMTLP, so that's a significant link there. They've also received the Most Trusted Print Award, Media Award in the American Liberty Award, so they obviously have a significant standing and a positive reputation. And I think the other interesting link here is with regard to Donald Trump, who used the Gateway Pundit's exclusive reports and investigations in his summary report on 2020 election fraud, or maybe it was alleged election fraud. So let's now go ahead and check out details of the story. Let's start by having a look at details of the post shared by the Gateway Pundit. This has got views just in excess of 141,000, and it's titled "Investors and CEOs at War with Regulators Over Counterfeit Shares." So one thing I have noticed with regard to the story, I think it is very well laid out. It's quite simple and it covers most of the key concerns and areas of grievance that we have. And it starts with regard to one of the key investors by the name of Julianne J. And she stated in this interview, she's obviously a fair market activist, she's an MMTLP shareholder, and she's talking about tens of thousands of investors who have been defrauded. And again, certainly agree with that. Assets have been frozen, but regulators such as the SEC and FINRA have mostly remained quiet and refused to provide us with the transparency that we have been asking for. So she also goes on to say that regulators cannot provide this transparency for the victims who have been harmed. The silence and deflections raise serious concerns about the integrity of the markets and the broader financial system. So a good quote there, and obviously linking into the Kennedy post, which obviously shout out here to Busy Brands and credit to Busy Brands for getting this attention. And that obviously called attention to what Congress labelled the MMTLP fiasco by reposting 13 good questions in terms of what FINRA should be answering. So I'm very pleased that Kennedy did that. So let's now move on to the Kennedy Post, and what the article states is the Post is bringing renewed attention to the financial scandal, which many claim is bigger than Madoff and FTX combined. So I would also state that that is true, and I think Kennedy's reposting of that tweet is probably one of the things that has instigated this news story here. So the exposure is growing, and we can see further down it states that FINRA assigned MMTLP a new ticker, MMTLP, and trading began on the OTC. So why would regulators allow a stock to trade without the company's knowledge or permission? Again, confirmed by John Berda and also confirmed by George Palikaros. Short sellers did not close their positions in TRCH. It appears they broke the rules of trading in terms of MMTLP to allow the short sellers who were on the hook for significant liabilities, and they had the opportunity to escape a financial reckoning at the expense of everyday retail investors. So that is a good overview of what happened right at that time. And she goes on to say they did not go as planned. Short sellers thought that retail investors would panic and sell. So as far as I'm concerned, just like myself, I think most retail investors did not sell. We actually bought more. I was unable to buy because the broker did not allow it, but I am aware that most of the retail investors did buy. So she states that the regulators knew the large amount of failed to delivers over an extended period of time is a strong indicator of illegal short selling. So again, corruption in the markets there, something that the regulators should have dealt with, and hopefully they should have fixed as well, but they didn't. And there was an unwillingness from the regulators to enforce the rules that have polluted capital markets with counterfeit shares, i.e. fake shares. I think shares and the stock market is probably the only place that I'm aware of that fakes are allowed. And she goes on to say MMTLP traded for over a year, and FINRA told investors that we could sell our shares on December the 9th and the 12th, and so did the brokers. However, for many of us that was our plan. Many people, including myself and including in the article here, it states that the decision was not to be a long-term investor, but the decision was to look at an opportunity, take advantage of a price escalation as shorts closed their positions. So after FINRA released the corporate action, people bought more, including the investor here. And it goes on to say that December the 9th, 2022, FINRA then issued the whole of MMTLP. This terminated and removed the 2 days of trading before the corporate action had started. So according to FINRA's press release, hours later, apparently an extraordinary event occurred or is ongoing. Never ever been explained what this event is or was, and had the potential to cause significant uncertainty. So obviously in their view, they have provided certainty, but the reality is it's the biggest mother of uncertainty that we've ever seen in the financial markets, because there has not been settlement and there has not been clearance, but that's what they said they were trying to achieve. Let's now move on to the UPC, Uniform Practice Code, and this committee was responsible to review corporate actions. And she goes on to say the committee had concerns about investor confusion for uncertainty or if they suspected fraud. And then they had an obligation under the rule 6490, so this is their own rule, to determine a corporate action deficient and return to the issuer for a resolution. However, that didn't happen, and FINRA did not resolve the concerns. So it's a strong allegation that they broke their own rules. So does that make them above the law? Does that provide them with immunity? I think not. And obviously Jay points out that the emails obtained by the FOIA requests show that FINRA and the SEC themselves had concerns. The witness and the name we have there is Sam Grady, and the concerns of potential fraud early on, yet they failed to act to protect investors. So it wasn't stopped and it wasn't halted when they identified the fraud. Concerns were enough that they blue sheeted the data on December the 5th, and one day before issuing the corporate action telling us that we could not trade. So they knew that something fishy was going on, or allegedly going on, but they did not protect their investors at that time. So they knew something was wrong. They pulled the blue sheets, saw the number of outstanding short positions, and instead of allowing the free market to resolve it, no matter how infinite the risk to short sellers, they moved forward with the spin out trapped investors into a non-trading company, also I would say a private company, because it's not listed on any exchange. So these are the options for FINRA. It's either incompetent in allowing fraud to continue, or they conspired to protect the short sellers, and I think the suggestion there is the UPC committee. And in the meantime, MMTLP has now been deleted. I don't think that will ever trade under that simple letter again. And the shares have been replaced with IOUs, and funds have been frozen with a value of 0. And the final part at the end, she goes on to say that investors request to secure their shares by transferring to, so the transfer agent continue to be denied, so we're not even getting the shares as well. And I think the key reason why they are not getting the shares, or we are not getting the shares, is because the brokers don't have them. So they are now interfering in our property rights. So it has gone to Congress. 74 Congress makers sent the SEC chairman Gary Gensler and Robert Cook an open letter, but so far this has not been resolved to satisfaction. We're talking over 650 days since FINRA halted and deleted MMTLP. Still, there is a settlement issue. So they are hiding something. What are they hiding? Either investors were defrauded with counterfeit shares, or they were not. So the situation here is we just want a share count, and it's not too much to ask. And finally, let's finish off by having a look at one of the stocks that we have been looking at in the Discord, ticker symbol RKLB, also known as Rocket Lab. So in terms of an overall company profile, Rocket Lab USA wants to become the next SpaceX. So this is a company that develops partially reusable orbit rockets. It's an electronic rocket which has been launched in 53 times over the previous 7 years, can be used to carry smaller payloads of around about 250 kg into space. So in terms of the company website, we can see here there's a company that is looking at end-to-end space, or it's describing itself as an end-to-end space company. So in terms of the latest news, we can see here they completed a second spacecraft for Varda Space Industries and advancing in space manufacturing. And we also have the recent financial quarterly results for the second quarter 2024, which were also better than expected. So if we have a look at the overall chart, we can see here again it is in current momentum. We can see it again, it's in a good upward trend. But in terms of the overall company and some of the key catalysts, we can see they are focusing on undeserved niches of the space transport market instead of going head to head against SpaceX, which was probably would not be a good idea. So in terms of the analysts, they expect Rocket Lab revenue to soar 74%. This is one of the things that is driving the share price up quite significantly. So this would give them revenue of approximately $425 million in 2024, and could also grow 40% to $597 million in 2025. They are currently loss making, so that would be one of the concerns in terms of evaluation. Again, they have currently, first of all, $345 million in cash, so they're strong from an asset point of view. Liability $733 million, so obviously they need that revenue to keep coming in. So it is a high risk, high reward stock. So we have a look at the chart for the previous 5 days. Currently up over 28%, and Tower of Editing trading at $9.73. And finally, I'd like to share with you details of some of the transactions that I've shared on the website savvytrader.com. So go ahead and check out this website where I've shared details of the stocks that I buy and the sell. And the recent one I sold for a 31.9% gain. One before that I sold for a 28% gain, and I've just invested recently September the 20th in another dividend stock giving a yield of 8.52% and also has significant amount of annual growth. So finally, thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.